1 minute ago, judge issues arrest warrant for J-Lo after Natania Reuben's shocking testimony. 1 hour ago, a federal judge issued an arrest warrant for Jennifer Lopez. Yes, that Jennifer Lopez, the once untouchable queen of Latin pop and red carpet royalty, now finds herself named as a central figure in one of the most explosive criminal investigations to ever rock the entertainment world. Her alleged role, smuggling a firearm into a Manhattan nightclub in 1999 and helping orchestrate a cover-up that led to an innocent man serving a decade in prison. The question that now echoes through the courtroom and the internet is chilling. Was she always this involved, or was she simply too close to the fire? Before we begin, viewer discretion is advised. This story is not just about celebrity downfall, it's about power complicity and the price of silence. It's based on sworn testimonies, sealed court documents, and eyewitness accounts that now threaten to undo everything Jennifer Lopez and Sean Diddy Combs built over decades. The first domino fell with Cassie Ventura. Late 2023, Cassie filed a bombshell lawsuit against Diddy. The accusations were horrifying coercion, abuse, surveillance, and manipulation. But more than personal trauma, her testimony peeled back the curtain on a larger system, a hidden world of freak-off parties, burner phones, hush money, and power plays. And then came the name no one expected, Jennifer Lopez. As court proceedings escalated, an unexpected voice returned: Natania Reuben. Reuben, a survivor of the 1999 shooting, stepped back into the spotlight after years in silence. Shot in the face during that infamous night, Reuben testified that the truth had been buried under celebrity legal gymnastics and a tightly choreographed media campaign. She didn't just accuse Diddy, she implicated J-Lo. In Reuben's sworn testimony, she detailed how Jennifer Lopez was not merely a bystander or girlfriend that evening. She was allegedly the person who smuggled the firearm into the club. After the shots rang out, Lopez and Diddy, according to Reuben and several corroborating witnesses, orchestrated a swift and precise cover-up. They pointed fingers at the youngest, least powerful person in the room, rapper Jamal "Shine" Barrow. He was arrested, tried, and convicted. He served 10 years in prison. Meanwhile, Diddy and Lopez walked free. Their careers soared. Lopez launched movies, hit singles, and international tours. Diddy expanded his empire into fashion, liquor, and media. Shine, now a politician in Belize, faded from the headlines until now. The court isn't just dealing with one moment in time. It's unpacking a decades-long network of silencing, manipulation, and strategic alliance. A key allegation in the new filings: J-Lo and Diddy may have secretly married around the time of the shooting. Why? To invoke spousal privilege and prevent her from testifying against him in court. No marriage license was found. No denial was ever issued. Was it love, or was it strategy? Cassie's testimony introduced another disturbing element: the use of women as gun mules. She recounted in tears how Diddy handed her a loaded firearm and instructed her to carry it into a club. She obeyed, terrified. That act, shockingly specific, mirrored what Reuben and others claim Lopez did years earlier. Was this a pattern? Is it possible J-Lo wasn't just complicit in that one night, but that she helped establish a system where women were expendable pawns in a much larger, darker game? Enter Rodney "Lil Rod" Jones. Jones, another former associate, confirmed the pattern. He alleged Lopez helped shield Diddy from legal scrutiny, not once, not passively, actively. According to Jones, she helped manipulate witnesses, suppressed evidence, and manage media spin. In short, she wasn't an accessory, she was a partner. These aren't mere accusations from bitter exes. These are sworn statements, court-reviewed exhibits, and testimonial under penalty of perjury. What makes them even more damning is their consistency across time, geography, and witnesses. The same names, the same methods, the same silence. Now we ask, why didn't the public see this sooner? One reason may be optics. Consider the mugshots from 1999. shine in streetwear Diddy against a concrete wall, but Lopez photographed in front of a bulletin board in oversized raggedy t-shirts. Not exactly what you'd expect after a night out, clubbing at Christmas. Natania Reuben pointed this out in court. You think they went out dressed like that? No, that was arranged. That was damage control. From the beginning, there was an effort to shift the narrative, to sanitize the visuals, to rewrite the night. And it worked. For 25 years, Lopez evaded scrutiny. She rebranded. She climbed. She became a global symbol of empowerment. But now her name is etched in court records. Her silence speaks volumes, and the public finally is listening. In Part 2, we'll examine how J.Lo's alleged involvement went beyond one night in Manhattan. We'll trace her name through flight manifests, burner phones, secret guest lists, and into the heart of a federal investigation. But before we do, ask yourself, what does silence mean when you know others are being destroyed, and who benefits most from staying quiet? When Cassie Ventura first named Jennifer Lopez in her testimony, the courtroom shifted. Up until then, Lopez had been a peripheral icon, a celebrity adjacent to the scandal, not the center of it. But in that moment, as Cassie broke down, describing the manipulation, abuse, and orchestration she endured under Diddy's thumb, she also described another figure in the shadows, a woman who years earlier may have helped write the rules. It began with logistics, a burner phone here, a private flight there. Cassie detailed how Diddy controlled everything, the lights, the camera angles, even what she wore. But when the prosecution introduced flight logs from 2000, it wasn't Diddy's name that made the gallery gasp. It was Jennifer Lopez. Her name appeared next to Cassie's, alongside Diddy, alongside another name redacted, a name later revealed to be that of a 17-year-old girl, a private jet, a party in the Caribbean, no chaperones, no oversight. Was J.Lo just another passenger, or was she curating the guest list? Witness Misha testified that Lopez didn't just attend these gatherings, she played a role. She had a clipboard, Misha said on the stand. She was coordinating things. I don't know what they were, but it looked like she was working, not partying. This wasn't the Lopez from magazine covers or perfume ads. This was a woman behind the scenes, allegedly managing schedules, ensuring anonymity, controlling exposure. Misha recounted one freak-off party where she was assaulted. She made eye contact with Lopez during the act. I was silently begging her for help, Misha said. She just watched. That moment, more than any other, cemented Lopez's role, not as a bystander, but as a by-design participant. Then came the tapes. During a routine seizure of hard drives from Diddy's Los Angeles estate, the FBI uncovered dozens of encrypted video files. Most were labeled by date and location. A few had names. One of those names was J.Lo. The defense scrambled to suppress the footage, citing privacy and lack of context. But the prosecution argued it was vital. A judge allowed a brief, carefully redacted clip to be played. In the courtroom, the video was grainy but clear. Diddy's voice could be heard saying, "She's fine with it. She knows how this goes." A woman's voice replied calm, almost businesslike, "I told you I'm not coming unless they're over 18. Diddy laughed. That's just for optics. It wasn't confirmed, but it was an implication. An implication in a courtroom filled with survivors' lawyers and federal agents is a powerful weapon. The phrase optics echoed like a bell. What else had been for show? The red carpet looks, public romances. The storybook returns. Outside the courthouse, the public reaction was swift. Social media exploded with outrage. Hashtags like "No, J.Lo knew" and "Norstrauer's silence is complicity" trended globally. Former fans deleted playlists. Brands quietly began to pull endorsements. But perhaps the most shocking fallout came from within the industry itself. Ojani Noah Lopez's first husband resurfaced in an exclusive interview. He claimed their brief marriage ended not due to infidelity, but because of a darkness I couldn't explain back then. According to Noah, Lopez had told him about Diddy's private events, downplayed them, then grew defensive when questioned. She said it was just business, he recalled. But business doesn't make you cry afterward. Journalists revisited timelines. Investigators reanalyzed old depositions. One entry in a sealed court document from 2002 became the focal point. It was a transcript from an internal meeting within Bad Boy Entertainment. Lopez was present. Her handwritten notes included one line underlined twice. Media misdirection in place. Tell them it was Shine. We stay silent. Was it a Directive A suggestion? A strategy we may never know. But in the context of the testimonies, it was damning. Meanwhile, Lopez remained absent. No statements, no appearances. Only her legal team issued a vague reply. Ms. Lopez maintains her innocence and has always complied with the law. But silence in cases like these doesn't speak quietly. It roars, and that roar grew louder as one more testimony shattered the illusion. Witness C, a former bodyguard, testified under oath that after the 1999 shooting trial ended, Diddy threw a private party not to celebrate but to close ranks. It wasn't champagne and dancing, he said. It was cold, like a funeral. Lopez was there. He told her, "You played your part perfectly." This wasn't a toast. It was an absolution. Back in court, the prosecution leaned in. They brought in a cultural historian to testify not about music or dance, but about silence. She explained how celebrity culture creates immunity, how systems of wealth and fame shield those at the top. We teach people to look away, she said, to forgive fame before we understand the crime. By the end of part 2, there was no longer a question of whether Jennifer Lopez was involved. The question was, how much did she know? How deep did it go, and how long had she helped hold the curtain in place while others were destroyed behind it? If Us had just shattered the public's illusion of Jennifer Lopez's innocence, then sequel would shatter the inner circle secrecy. The phrase "glass guest" began to circulate in hushed tones throughout the courtroom and the press pool. The code name, a whispered label. It came from a witness known only as Event Planet X. Subpoenaed late nearly overlooked their testimony, added a chilling layer to what had already become one of the most damaging celebrity trials in recent history. Every freak-off had a list, X said. Every location, every flight to manifest every guest. But there was one name that always came with a note, special clearance. We called her the Glass Guest. Why glass? Asked the prosecutor. Because she never reflected anything back. You couldn't read her, couldn't see her reaction. It was like she was there, but never really there. And just like that, Jennifer Lopez's code name was born not out of affection, but alienation. In a sealed court document from 2001, prosecutors unearthed emails referencing this glass guest. The emails didn't spell out names, but described a woman who traveled under aliases, booked last minute, and refused security escorts. They cross-referenced flight bookings, catering orders, and invoices. The pattern held. Every time the alias was used, Jennifer Lopez's performance schedule conveniently aligned with Diddy's East Coast residences. Each time, an underage female guest was also on record as present. One of those guests finally came forward. She's known as Rachel Pseudonym, protected by federal witness safeguards. In her testimony, she recounted being trafficked across state lines for what she believed was a music video shoot. She was 16. I remember seeing Jennifer Lopez that night, Rachel said. She said something to me like, "You're gonna be a star." I didn't know what that meant. She continued trembling. I was drugged. There were cameras, and someone was watching. She didn't stop. She left early, but she saw me. She saw what they were doing. The courtroom was still. Prosecutors paused. The defense tried to object, lack of corroboration, hearsay, but the judge allowed the testimony. The public, meanwhile, stopped being surprised. because now the story wasn't about implication, it was about presence, a presence that echoed across documents, receipts, unsealed chat logs, and guest lists. Then came the most damning piece of evidence yet, a hotel's internal security report from 2000. It described a VIP guest under the alias G Glass, requesting closed-circuit footage be disabled for her floor for privacy. The booking paid through a Diddy-controlled LLC, the name associated with the spa reservation Jennifer Lopez. Meanwhile, the narrative online had evolved from shock to fury. Reddit threads dissected the trial in real time. Conspiracy forums turned to timelines. Influencers posted breakdowns. One video caption summed up the cultural shift. She wasn't a queen, she was a curator. Elsewhere, Ben Affleck's silence grew louder. Sources close to the actor revealed he had entered intensive therapy following the federal raid that allegedly revealed Lopez's involvement. The same report claimed he viewed a confidential FBI briefing. Within 72 hours, his team canceled all public appearances. The press speculated. The public judged. The institutions, however, remained quiet until another tape leaked. This one wasn't shown in court. It surfaced on a private Telegram channel, then spread like wildfire. It showed a freak-off gathering, dated March 2001, dim lighting, blurred faces. But one detail was unmistakable: a woman resembling Jennifer Lopez, holding a guest list directing foot traffic. It wasn't confirmed, but it wasn't nothing. The court didn't authenticate the tape. The prosecution didn't cite it. But jurors were dismissed early that day. Lopez's team issued a rare rebuttal. Our client vehemently denies her presence at any such gathering and demands the protection of her privacy. But privacy was no longer an option. Inside the courtroom, Cassie returned to the stand. Her voice was clearer now, stronger. She looked toward the jury, then said, "I saw Jennifer there, at least twice. She didn't say anything, but she was there. You can't unsee that." And for many watching, that was the end of innocence. At that point, cultural institutions began recalibrating. Netflix canceled Lopez's docuseries. L'Oreal dropped an upcoming campaign. Music platforms adjusted their homepages. No headlines, no scandals, just quiet deletion. Still, Lopez remained abroad. Last spotted in a villa in Sardinia. According to immigration records leaked by insiders, she had extended her stay twice since the trial began. Meanwhile, a second grand jury began reviewing her case. Not for complicity yet, but for obstruction. The question wasn't whether Jennifer Lopez helped build the machine. The question now was whether she helped hide its gears. There were no more answers, just a list that grew longer by the day. And at the top, in a delicate font, under the label "Special Clearance the Glass Guest" remained. As public outrage escalated, the courtroom buzzed with speculation. Was Jennifer Lopez still untouchable, or was she just gone? Reporters scoured international flight logs. Tabloids cited unverified sightings in Albania, Qatar, and the Maldives. Each report painted the same portrait: a woman disappearing one villa at a time. And as the legal storm back home intensified, a silence settled in strategic meticulous, a silence with purpose. "She's not hiding," one anonymous source from Lopez's legal team told a journalist. "She's distant. There's a difference." But the court didn't see it that way. Federal prosecutors pushed forward. New subpoenas were issued. One to a private flight charter used in 1999, another to a luxury security firm responsible for event staffing. The questions were no longer about Diddy's guilt. They were about who protected him, who scheduled the cars, who burned the footage, and Jennifer Lopez's name kept surfacing. In a taped deposition, a former makeup artist named Alexis claimed she had worked with Lopez on the night of the infamous 1999 club shooting. She was nervous, Alexis said, pacing, asking about fingerprints. "I didn't know what she meant at the time. Now I do." It wasn't definitive, but it was damning. Then came the leak. A redacted segment of a sealed grand jury document was posted to a journalist's Substack. In it, Lopez's initials appeared beside multiple exhibits under the heading Possible Co-Conspirators. No charges yet, but her association was undeniable. The court of public opinion responded in kind. Spotify playlists dropped her. Radio stations pulled her rotations. A once iconic fragrance campaign vanished from shelves. Memes turned bitter. Once dubbed Jenny from the block, she was now Jenny from the flight log. Inside the courtroom, things turned colder. Cassie was back on the stand, walking the jury through her final months under Diddy's control. She recounted secret surveillance, drug-fueled coercion, the so-called empathy recordings, where she was filmed weeping after freak-off events, then forced to watch herself back. He called it therapy, Cassie said, but it was punishment. The judge requested a recess. Members of the jury wept. As trial days passed, Lopez's absence became a character of its own. Empty seats were reserved for her in court. Her face, pixelated for privacy, appeared on evidence boards. Her voice, extracted from voicemails, played in the background of Diddy's planning calls. And still not a word from her. Until the moment the judge dropped the phrase, material witness. The gallery froze. To most legal analysts, it was a warning: appear voluntarily or be compelled. 2 days later, a diplomatic cable leaked from a European consulate. It mentioned an unnamed American celebrity requesting refugee-style protection under the claim of international harassment. The internet needed no hints. They had already decided. Back in court, the focus sharpened. Prosecutors introduced a witness known as Witness Vore, a former body double for J.Lo in her early music videos. Her testimony was eerie. I was once told to wear her outfit, go through a back exit, and get photographed. I thought it was just for hype. Now I think it was something else. Maybe decoy work, maybe alibi staging. Her statements were circumstantial, but formed a chilling pattern. Then came footage from a 2000 rehearsal studio. In it, Diddy and Lopez appear to be arguing off stage. Their conversation was barely audible, but the words "it's gone" and "just shine" were transcribed by audio experts. The defense countered, "This is speculation, not evidence." But for the jury and the viewers watching the trial unfold like a Netflix series, it was enough. Lopez's career wasn't simply under threat. It was undergoing erasure. Academy event planners quietly uninvited her from a retrospective gala. Fashion brands stripped her endorsements from packaging. Even daytime talk shows stopped uttering her name. And through it all, her silence remained. One viral tweet captured the moment perfectly. Cassie survived, Shine endured, but J.Lo vanished, and maybe that's the loudest thing she's ever said. In closing, the legal tide is turning. Not with handcuffs, but with increasingly clear testimony and evidence. Subpoenaed testimony. Whether Jennifer Lopez will appear remains the only unanswered but still important question. By the 5th week, the trial had morphed into something far beyond legal procedure. It was a reckoning not just of Diddy's actions, but of those orbiting him for decades. And at the heart of that reckoning, the ghostly presence of Jennifer Lopez loomed large. She wasn't just missing, she was missed. Each mention of her name shifted the courtroom's mood. Witnesses described her not as a pop star, but as a figure within a shadow network, someone who wasn't just complicit, but crucial. It was Misha who reignited the flame. Returning to the stand, Misha described another freak-off one, held in a beachside mansion in the Hamptons. She recalled being drugged, then waking up in a room surrounded by cameras draped in white curtains and hearing a laugh. That laugh, she said, was unmistakable. I looked up, she testified, and I saw Jennifer Lopez sipping from a champagne glass. She looked bored. She wasn't shocked. She wasn't afraid. She looked used to it. The courtroom sat in stunned silence. Then the video was played. A grainy clip from a hallway cam showed the same mansion Lopez passing by, with an assistant giving what appeared to be directives about lighting and props. It was far from criminal evidence, but to the prosecution it was about pattern. And they leaned into that pattern with surgical precision. They called an event planner under subpoena who had once worked with Bad Boy Entertainment. He spoke about coded booking instructions. Guest G was Jennifer. Lighting white meant bright lights for PR-safe appearances. Lighting red meant discretion. Jennifer's bookings, he said, were always coded red. The media caught on fast. Hashtags, lighting red, and Guest G trended overnight. Meanwhile, Lopez's camp broke their silence. A representative released a statement. Jennifer Lopez denies any wrongdoing. She has cooperated with federal inquiries and has not been charged with any crime. But the statement arrived too late. Cassie returned to the stand one final time. Her testimony was quieter now, less frantic, more focused. She described how Lopez had once visited a rehearsal, spoken kindly to her, and then whispered something chilling. "You do what he says. It's easier that way." "I thought she was helping me," Cassie said, "but now I think she was warning me." Gasps echoed through the courtroom. Then came the forensic deep dive. A tech expert walked the jury through recovered data from Diddy's seized cloud accounts. Among the files was a folder named Legacy. Inside were notes, images, surveillance logs, and a subfolder named Fireflies. It was Lopez's nickname, the expert testified. Multiple files reference it. Included were itinerary drafts, legal prep notes, and documents labeled JJ Strategy. One of them referenced Post-Incident Optics Management from December 1999. There was a meeting the next morning. The expert explained. J-Lo was listed as the host. Still, there were no charges, no smoking gun, just more smoke. But the public didn't wait. Fan pages converted into survivor awareness platforms. Former stylists, dancers, and producers posted cryptic TikToks. One caption read, "She knew, we all did, but she smiled better." Even an old American Idol clip went viral. Lopez judging a nervous contestant with the line, "Some people just don't have what it takes under pressure." The comments were brutal. One wrote, "She would know. She passed every pressure test for all the wrong reasons." In the courtroom, a final motion from the prosecution triggered headlines. They requested that Lopez be subpoenaed as a material witness, citing new communications between her and Diddy from a burner app. Messages from 1999 and 2023 showed a coded language with phrases like "garden party" for freak-offs and "shine bright" as a cue for silence. The judge signed the order, but would she come, no one knew. But the system was now prepared to find out. Meanwhile, prosecutors turned the mirror to the industry. They played a sizzle reel of clips from award shows, music videos, red carpet scenes, where Diddy and Lopez smiled together, while victims were allegedly silenced behind the curtain. Then came the timeline wall, a digital board showing crimes dates and photos. Lopez appeared in 17 of the 41 incidents, not as a bystander, as a constant. "This is not about guilt," the prosecutor said. "It's about presence, and presence when unchecked becomes power." The defense objected. They argued Lopez had been dragged in unfairly, that she had never been charged, that media frenzy was distorting facts. But even the jury looked unconvinced. The final witness of Part 5 was unexpected. Shine, now a parliament member, appeared via live satellite from Belize. He spoke slowly, deliberately. "I was young, I was loyal, but I wasn't blind. They let me rot, and while I sat in prison they danced." He never named names, but the names didn't need to be spoken anymore. Finally, Jennifer Lopez has been called. Her voice is expected. And the world waits not for music, not for movies, but for the truth. The courthouse buzzed with anticipation. Cameras lined the sidewalk. Activists hoisted signs that now read, not only "Protect Survivors," but "Subpoena J-Lo." The cultural tide had crested. Jennifer Lopez, long admired, now dissected, was no longer a ghost in whispers. She was a name on a federal subpoena, and still she remained unseen. For days after the judge's order, speculation circled like vultures. Had Lopez fled permanently? Was she negotiating terms in silence? Social media pulsed with updates. A blurry photo in Dubai. A private jet possibly tracked to Montenegro. But the Department of Justice said nothing. Then on a foggy Monday it happened. A black SUV pulled into a sealed courthouse garage in D.C. Its windows tinted, its contents obscured. But a marshal confirmed to press, a high-profile witness is in federal custody for cooperation, not charges. Jennifer Lopez was in the building. There were no photos, no hallway footage. Just a brief court record update. Witness J. Lopez scheduled for closed-door testimony at 11:00 a.m. EST. Outside murmurs turned to a kind of reverent hush. This wasn't tabloid anymore. This was history. Inside, in a room shielded from cameras, Lopez sat across from federal prosecutors. No defense counsel beside her. This wasn't a trial. Not yet. But every answer held weight. According to sources later leaked, she was composed, dressed in gray, voice calm. She answered every question. When asked about the 1999 shooting, she confirmed attendance. When asked about her relationship with Shine, she stated, "He was a scapegoat. I see that now." Then came the heavier questions. Did she know about the weapon? She hesitated. "I was young. He told me to carry it. I didn't think I had a choice." And the freak offs, her voice reportedly lowered. "I didn't like them, but I stayed. Because it was easier. Because I thought love meant loyalty." One agent asked, "Did you ever stop him?" She shook her head. "No, I enabled him. And that's something I'll never forgive myself for." For 2 hours she gave what analysts would later call a soft confession. Not criminal, but cultural. A reckoning in real time. Meanwhile, outside the chamber, victims held a live press conference. Cassie, flanked by Natania Reuben, and Misha took the podium. "This isn't about one woman," she said. "This is about every woman who stayed silent because she thought she had to. And today, someone finally broke that silence." Back in court, the prosecutor asked Lopez why she had remained silent for so long. Her response, "Because I thought silence kept me safe, but it only protected him." The testimony ended. No applause, no press release. Just a sealed envelope handed to the judge and a brief official summary. Witness cooperated in full. No charges recommended at this time. But the court of public opinion was already convening. Online reactions were mixed. Some praised Lopez for facing the truth. Others called it too little too late. Hashtags like Confession Gray and Not Too Big to Fall trended worldwide. In the days that followed, the ripples continued. Sponsors pulled back. Film studios adjusted release slates. Billboard dropped her from campaign headers. Even her longtime manager issued a statement, "We support Jennifer's accountability journey, but the business must move forward." She wasn't canceled, but she was corrected. Meanwhile, the Diddy trial moved to closing arguments. The prosecution, bolstered by Lopez's testimony, reminded jurors of the timeline, the gun, the manipulation, the freak-offs, the silence. They played the final voicemail. Diddy's voice, slow and assured, "She knows what to do." The defense tried to shift blame, calling Lopez a manipulated partner, not a perpetrator. But their voices trembled. Even their expert witness admitted patterns suggest shared power, not just submission. Then came the verdict. Not for Lopez, but for the man she once stood beside. Guilty on all counts: racketeering, coercion, trafficking, witness tampering, life without parole. The courtroom didn't cheer. It exhaled. Jennifer Lopez watched the announcement from an undisclosed location. According to insiders, she cried, not from relief, from memory. Days later, she released a video statement. It was raw, unedited. She spoke directly into the camera. "For years I was praised for surviving, But I wasn't just surviving. I was ignoring them. I saw things. I didn't act. And in that silence, others suffered. I'm sorry. She ended up with no makeup, no spotlight, just her voice. This isn't redemption, it's reckoning. Public reaction was fierce. Some forgave, some forgot, some never would. But what followed was unexpected. Cassie Nada and Misha invited Lopez to join Witness to Power, not as a leader, not as a symbol, as a volunteer. She accepted, her first task listening. The final scenes unfolded quietly. Diddy was transferred to federal prison. His estate was dismantled. His assets funneled to survivor reparations. Shine's record was expunged. The U.S. government issued a formal apology, and Lopez She disappeared from Hollywood, but not from the conversation. In schools, law programs, media ethics panels, her name became a case study not of villainy, but of complicity, of silence, of cultural awakening. The last public photo of her wasn't on a red carpet. It was at a community center, folding chairs, wearing plain clothes. A girl next to her wore a shirt, "Power listens now." And that was it. The story didn't end with fireworks or handcuffs. It ended with echoes, with victims no longer begging to be heard, with silence no longer mistaken for strength, and with one final truth. Sometimes the loudest verdict is who chooses to finally speak.